From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for the November 24th edition of Carolina Week. I'm Amanda Eiler.
And I'm Amanda Yarusi. Our top story tonight: fire officials are investigating a fire that damaged portions of a house off Stevens Street late Sunday night. Firefighters responded to the scene at about 11:15 and put out the fire about 25 minutes later. Officials say the house belongs to a Sanford man, but neighbors say the house has been vacant for almost 2 years. No civilians were injured, but one firefighter received minor injuries while putting out the flames. There was moderate to heavy fire damage in several areas of the house, with initial damage estimated to be about $50,000. Fire officials say this could be a case of arson.
Governor Mike Easley has ordered the cleanup of mold that closed 2 dormitories at North Carolina Central University earlier this semester. 500 students were shut out of new residence hall buildings 1 and 2 after potentially toxic black mold was found and the dorms were closed. The estimated $26 million cleanup effort should have students back in dorms at the beginning of next semester. Easley ordered the cleanup after the legislature announced it would not consider emergency mold remediation money until May of 2005. Are you looking for a new cell phone provider? Starting Monday, you can change your service without changing your number. The industry expects as many as 9 million people to make the change right away. It's already the busiest time of the year for mobile service providers. So if you can put the switch on hold for a month or two, you might avoid a few busy signals.
A UNC Chapel Hill student charged with illegal file sharing will fight to keep his identity hidden from the Recording Industry Association of America. With the help from the American Civil Liberties Union, the student argues that the RIAA must obtain names in a fair way, without restricting the right to anonymous speech. The student's lawyer has filed a motion to quash the subpoena, and the RIAA has issued a statement dismissing the objections.
Talk of increasing tuition for Carolina students could soon be geared toward more out-of-state students. Thursday, the Board of Trustees delayed a vote on the increase. Some trustees say they want to implement a percentage-based increase that would raise tuition by a greater amount for out-of-state students. UNC sophomore Philip Johnson says he already has trouble affording the out-of-state price tag, and a tuition hike would create a larger financial burden.
Most people that are out of state, those are the people that have the work-study jobs. Those are the people that are working on campus. And then the in-state people can, just from what I've seen, they can focus more on their grades, focus more on studying. We're trying to help our folks out or just help out ourselves by having some spending money.
The university's tuition task force will work to draft a new long-term proposal before sending it to the Board of Governors.
Not only do Carolina students have to reserve their spaces for performance groups a month in advance, they might have to dig deep into their organization's funds as well. Because venues such as the Student Union have been undergoing renovations for months, there's a high demand for performance space on campus. The Union Auditorium is one of the only venues in the Student Union to accommodate groups. President of Carolina Union Activities Board, Christopher Lamb, recognizes the problem.
But it's tough if you decide to do a program, 2 weeks from now, you're going to find that most stuff is booked up. And you may be able to get in somewhere because someone is willing to give it up. But I can pretty much guarantee you that, on Thursday, December 4th, that Girard Hall is booked.
And if a group gets a space, well, it's free for students to use Carroll 111, Girard Hall, Hamilton 100, Haynes Art Auditorium, Manning 209, the Union, Multipurpose Room, Upendo Lounge, and the Union Auditorium. But these students are charged a fee if you want to use Hill Hall, Carolina Club, Corey Auditorium, and Fetzer Gym. QAB expects the Union to reopen sometime in the spring.
Carolina senior Elizabeth Kiston has won a Rhodes Scholarship. The scholarship covers all tuition, fees, and living expenses for 2 years of study at Oxford University in England. She plans to use the scholarship to pursue her master's degree in developmental studies. Kiston is the 37th UNC student to receive the Rhodes Scholarship.
Many people see traveling abroad as a vacation, but it might be an educational experience as well. Friday, the University Center for International Studies, or UCIS, organized an International Employment Networking Night in conjunction with University Career Services. Interested students got together with other students who've already been abroad to learn about funding opportunities and benefits of studying outside the United States. Most of them find the international experience fulfilling and say it's a key to success in today's global community.
I think you can never have enough overseas experience. It's important to be in touch with other cultures. It's important to understand that there are different ways of doing things and different ways of life, and to respect those.
The international experience really interests me because the world is becoming so small and everything is interrelated.
UCIS is offering an International Internship Award of up to $2,500. One of the requirements is that you have to be a returning Carolina student. The deadline for applications is April 2nd.
If you're headed out of town for the holiday weekend, here are a few things you might want to know. For those traveling by air, officials recommend that you arrive at the airport at least an hour before your flight. But remember, parking, checking in, and getting through security lines will all take longer throughout the weekend. For those driving, remember the on and off ramps to and from I-40 eastbound at 15501 are closed for construction. Gas prices range from 2 to 9 cents higher this time than last year. Officials will be looking for drunk drivers with 5 mobile blood alcohol testing units across the state. The annual Booze It and Lose It campaign kicked off last week. I tell you what, I'm excited about going home for Thanksgiving. Turkey and everything else all sound really good to me right now.
Speaking of turkeys, our Chris Cox is back on the desk after a broken ankle. Glad to have you back, Chris. What went on in sports this weekend?
Gee, thanks, guys. Well, speaking of football, actually, is what was going on this weekend. The Duke-Carolina rivalry renewed. Carolina trying to salvage what was left of a season that was less than mediocre, actually. So let's go straight to our sports trivia question, which is, when did Carolina and Duke first play in a football game? 1796, 1888, 1922, or 1952? We'll have the answer as well as your weekend in Carolina sports when we return.
When your child gets sick with the usual illnesses an unusual number of times, it could be an immune deficiency called PI. Get the warning signs.
These kids are in trouble. They're not getting high on drugs or stealing. If they were, you'd do something about it right now. But why is it almost half of all parents who suspect their child has a problem learning wait a year or more before getting help? Why? Kids with learning disabilities are smart. They just learn differently. Call now. The sooner you get help, the better the chance your kid has.
Welcome back to Carolina Week Sports. Saturday night, it was Roy Williams' debut as Tar Heel head coach, and the Heels gave their new coach an impressive victory, beating Old Dominion 90-64. And it seemed like old times with Roy Williams back on the bench. North Carolina started out with extreme pressure on defense, and Old Dominion turned it over 11 times and had 6 shots blocked in the opening minutes. Rashad McCants led the Heels with 18 points and a career-high 8 assists. Sean May, who missed most of last season, was back in form with 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 blocks. During the game, the players saw there's no I in team.
You know, guys weren't trying to do it by themselves, you know, like last year and the year before. I think we had a lot of times guys trying to do it by themselves. And, you know, they think they're, you know, they got to be the so-called the man on the team. And this is a team. And, you know, we're in it together.
The Heels play at Davidson at 7 p.m. on Monday. The game will be televised on ESPN2. On to soccer, but not just any soccer, Carolina women's soccer. It's the third round of the NCAA tournament, and goalkeeper Allie Wingett has yet to be scored on. Wingett and the Heels kicked off in the third round against Purdue on Friday. The Boilermakers would try to knock the Heels on their backs on multiple occasions, but Lori Kolupny was up for that. Girl, that just ain't right. On to the scoring. Alyssa Ramsey lofts one into the box to Kat Reddick, who scores it. Casey White's open. That's a goal. It's 2-0. Heather O'Reilly from deep. Goal. O'Reilly centers one to Annie Morell. Goal. Morell flips one behind her back to Alyssa Ramsey here, and that's a goal. Purdue finally catches their breath to focus on a 7-0 loss to the Heels, who head into the quarterfinals this Friday. Carolina will need some more shutout soccer against Santa Clara, the team that has knocked them out of the tournament the past 2 seasons. Friday's grudge match begins at 6 p.m. at Fetzer Field. The Carolina women's basketball team opened up the season Friday night in Carmichael Auditorium. In the first game of a weekend doubleheader, the Tar Heels look on to the St. Francis Red Flash. The Heels were led by their 2 freshman starters, Camille Little and Ivory Latta, in an 80-44 rout of the Red Flash. Little had a double-double with 19 points and 13 boards, and Latta followed with 17 points and 5 assists. The win was Carolina's 300th in the program's history. Coach Hatchell said she was pleased with the performance of her rookie starters.
Well, I put the best kids out there on the floor, and these 2 bring a lot of energy to our team, and they actually have helped a lot of our other players be better and play to a higher level.
On Sunday, Coach Hatchell watches as her Lady Heels try to gobble up some Hofstra pride at home in the second game of the season. Freshman sensation Ivory Latta sends an early message as she zips this one to Candace Sutton for the deuce. Latta is the game leader with assists and 18 points. This gives her plenty of reason to celebrate. Another freshman, Camille Little, rips away a rebound, gets fouled, puts it back in, will count it, and 1. Little is also impressive on the night, scoring 16 points and grabbing 9 rebounds. The pool deck at Corey Natatorium was filled with swimmers and divers during the weekend. 10 teams gathered for a shot at winning swimming's Nike Cup. The Carolina men's and women's swimming teams look to defend last year's Nike Cup championships. Jessie Paraquet led the women's team with a first-place finish in the 100-yard freestyle. By Friday, the only competition for the Tar Heels was each other. The women claimed their 5th straight Nike Cup. On the men's side, the Tar Heels fell into 4th place early, but got a boost in the butterfly to take 2nd place overall. The Tennessee's men team broke Carolina's 5-year grip on the cup. 13 years. That's how long it's been since Duke beat Carolina in football. 16 games. That's how long it's been since Duke won an ACC road game. The Heels look to keep both streaks alive against the Blue Devils at Kenan Stadium on Saturday. Carolina's D comes out tough early, but Duke's O counters with big doses of Chris Douglas up the middle, including 2 touchdowns from Cedric Dargan. The Devils add 3 field goals to take a 23-0 halftime lead. Second half, Darian Durant says a good offense makes for a better defense. He does it himself here for the score, and then later, he's doing it through the air, finding Jock Lewis down the sideline for the touchdown. The Heels trail 30-22. Durant has one more chance to win it, but he's sacked here on 4th down. The Blue Devils storm the field, taking the victory bell back to Durham. Coach John Bunning says he's disappointed for his seniors.
They got to go out as the team who lost to Duke, and I'm part of that. All right, don't like that. They have to leave with that legacy. We have to work hard to get that bell back for them next year.
With the loss to Duke, the Tar Heels finish at the bottom of the ACC standings. Do you have an answer for our trivia question this week?
I'm the designated guesser, so I'm going to go with B, 1888.
That is a great guess. 1888 was Carolina's inaugural football season. They played 2 games, lost 1 to Duke, lost 1 to Wake Forest.
Thanks, Chris.
Great.
That does it for this week's edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching and have a great Thanksgiving.
Good night.